Your mind is limitless. The possibilities are endless. Awaken Your Mind Magic shows you how you can dream limitlessly and live your life on a new level. Susan Kathleen speaks with ordinary people who are living extraordinary lives using the power of their mind.
Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside.
Abundance, prosperity, and success. There are no limits to what you can dream. Join Susan Kathleen on a journey into your dreams, making a difference and living life on your own terms. This is Awaken Your Mind Magic.
Hello and welcome everyone. My guest speaker today is Beverly Zeimet, who lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the United States of America. She's known as a self-discovery archaeologist, finding and removing emotional blocks that prevent success and personal growth. She's an author, speaker, talk show host, spiritual coach, trainer, bioenergetic practitioner, and retreat facilitator. Beverly has over 35 years' experience in helping others change their lives in relationships, finances, health, and personal identity. She's impacted many through her workshops, trainings, and one-on-one consultations. Beverly's speciality is listening and locating the blocks that go unseen by most, where she leads you down the roadmap of your emotions and helps you free yourself from their control. Her business is the Identity Revelation Network, where she helps people find the real you, your true purpose in life, and to build your self-esteem, self-worth, and all parts of the self. Beverly is the host of her own show, The Beverly Zeimet Show, and her talks and interviews are on discovering solutions to every situation in life without revealing trauma. Her quote is, "We clear the issue without the need for a tissue." I love it. Her Facebook business page is called The How-To Factory, and she specializes in developing a greater mindset, freedom from emotional control, and sharing tools to help one soar to unlimited possibilities. Beverly, welcome to Awaken Your Mind Magic.
Wow, that was quite the introduction. Thank you very much. You've done your research, I'll say. It's a pleasure to be here, Susan. I know we've been kind of hit and miss in here, and finally we connected. And it's an honor to be here because I think what you're doing here is just an amazing thing. And that awareness and that awakening is so needed, especially in the world today and the way things are going, because who knows what tomorrow brings, right? And so it's given us time to really look within ourselves and to find that true identity. We get so busy in life, sometimes or most times we forget who we are, what we are, why we are. Do we even have a purpose? Because we're so busy being busy, trying to be what everybody else wants us to be, when in essence, we don't have an opportunity to take a look at who we really are and start wondering and living our life. What is my purpose?
That is so true.
Who am I?
Yeah, I agree with you there. And you have done so much. You're so qualified in your fields. And I have researched you. I've stalked you, Beverly.
Oh my goodness.
The more I have, the more impressed I've got with you, because, wow, you really have been an amazing go-getter. And what you do for people is wonderful. Beverly, tell us your story from the outset, where you did truly find that you had this awakening and knew your why, where you were going.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to take you on a journey way back into the ethers because it was a long time ago. I grew up in the Midwest on a farm. I was second oldest of 11. And I was always different, I guess you'd say. I knew things that other people didn't, the other kids didn't. I mean, when the phone would ring, I'd know who it was. I just kind of had that intuitive spirit, thinking everybody was that way until I started school, not so much. So I got teased a lot, so I kind of grew up fighting. And I was always in competition with my two brothers that were 1 year and 2 years younger than me because I was my dad's son until they came along. And so I kind of just grew up in that battlefield, so to speak. So I was always on that little rebel. And I guess I'm still that little rebel in a lot of avenues of life and pioneer things, and that warrior to plow through. But the real episode of what went on in my life where the aha moments of awakening began actually started in 1974. I was on the edge of suicide. I was not living the life of my dreams. I was filled with so much anger and hate for life. I had 3 kids under the age of 5, and I wanted out. I didn't have anywhere to go, nobody to talk to, nobody to listen to, and the depression and everything else was so heavy that I decided one night to go for a walk and figure out how I was going to exit the planet so it would be the easiest on everybody around. That was kind of my belief. So as I'm walking, I decided to have a conversation with, at the time I thought was God. And I gave him a piece of my mind. And oh my gosh, I got rid of so much anger to the point to where I could hardly breathe. I was so depleted and exhausted from just all the yelling and just really letting God have a piece of my mind. And then I heard the voice, "Are you finished?" And I said, "Yes." And then the voice says, "Who's going to take care of your children if you're not here?" And it's like, oh my God. Then I heard my dad's voice say, "If you're going to have these kids, you're going to have to take care of them because your mom and I got enough of our own." Well, obviously they did, right? There was 11 of us. And so it's like, oh man. All right. So that means I can't check out. I got to stick around. And so it's like, fine, if I got to stick around, let's make a deal. So, and then I was born and raised a Catholic, 12 years in a parochial school. So, that God thing was really, it really threaded really deep into my genes. And so it was like, I'm going to make this deal with God, right? I went out of this dead-end marriage. I went out of Iowa. I had a list 3 miles long. And the voice says, okay. That was easy. It's like, okay, so how do I do this? I'm thinking out loud. How do I do this? And the voice says, mind over matter. That was my biggest aha moment right there. What is mind over matter? And when you really start to study that, the mind is the power that generates and manifests everything. And when you know your mind, you know your power. And so I started living my life for me and my kids. Long story short, I got my divorce. I moved out of Iowa. I got everything that I wanted. And when I moved to Denver, Colorado, I was introduced to different people where there was more going on in life in the 80s out in the Denver area. And there were people that recognized some of the traits that I was showing with my intuition. And they started talking to me about it. And then that was aha moment number 2 is, oh, that's a thing called psychic. Oh, okay. You have a higher consciousness. Now I know God wasn't God I was yelling at. It was my higher self that I was so angry at, So it's like, oh, so my higher self is telling me this, it's like, oh my gosh, it was kind of crazy. But, when you have those aha moments, that's an awakening in itself. And so my life was at that point relocating my identity because I didn't want to be known as the mother of these children, married to this person, writing, for the newspapers. I wanted to be known for who I am. And so my journey started on finding my identity and working through all my emotional baggage to help others to be able to do that. And at this point in my life, I've actually written a couple of books now on the same subject, but being able to create what's called the rah-rah system to help others move through that baggage, that old database, without having to relive or re-experience on any of it. So the techniques are like 30 to 60 seconds, and you've got a transformation on your hands, which is really awesome. So to recognize, to acknowledge, to release, and to replace, which is the key element that most people forget, and then to accept that as your new truth. And it's powerful. So that leads me up to where I am today.
That is such a story. And the bravery of, even because I deal with a lot of people who are suicidal. And one thing I've noticed and learned about this is you have to be very brave to want to get to that or to get to the stage to want to end your life. People don't understand there is despair, but there's bravery as well, where you just think, I can't do this anymore. So what I am intrigued about is that when you started speaking to God, and I put that in inverted commas, and you had your second epiphany where you realized it was your higher self, would you say, Beverly, that is understanding the massive energy throughout the universe, that we are all interconnected, and therefore you are, I am?
Oh, I agree 100%. Once you begin to understand that, and I took Silva Mind Control back, I believe it was like in 1982, that really opened up my eyes to understanding things that had transpired through my childhood that I had no understanding of. And it just put clarity in everything that I did as a child. And it was like, wow, now this makes sense. I'm really not crazy. And I think a lot of times when people move into that level to where they're ready to check out, it's because they don't have an understanding of things that maybe have gone on in their life, or they've reached that point where, what is the purpose? And, there's so many variables that come to that, and nobody listens. And when someone reaches that point, they're really asking for somebody to just listen. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me how to do it, where to do it, why to do it. Just listen and hear what I'm saying. And that's what I have discovered, with people that I've worked with, too, that have all this inner swallowing of emotion, and because we've never been allowed to express it. And so it just builds. So to be able to understand you have a subconscious where all that stuff gets buried. Your consciousness is what's relevant in your now and in your environment, and the database of information that you receive throughout your lifetime. And that higher consciousness, which is the knowledge of all that is. And then you try to move those things around and put them things together. Because when you can understand that there are three parts of that consciousness, that is a huge awakening. And it gives you an opportunity to know that you really are the power of everything, and that unity of one. Every single one of us on the planet, my belief now is that we are one. We're one with the divine intelligence, and the divine intelligence, or universe, whatever you want to call it, is one with us. We are all particles of that, and we are all energy of that. And how our energy is solidified is how we look, and in the body embodiment that we are in. That's why every one of us are like a snowflake. We're all different, and we're all unique. Right?
I love that.
And so that's it's an understanding, and that's kind of where my retreats and my teaching goes. Is I love to intertwine nature and the animal spirits with everything, because for me, all things have a meaning. All things have a message. So every time an animal crosses my path that's unusual, it's like, whoa, what is the message? Like yesterday, I had an owl come up out of the ditch and come straight at my windshield and then go up over top the car. It's like, wow, to me, that was a message. And so when I looked that up, what is owl medicine? Owl medicine is recognizing the wisdom that you have to make the choices that you are being presented with in a manner to where you already know the answers in the right direction to go and don't sway from that.
That's wonderful.
So that was a clarity that I was looking for. And, so that's part of life. Again, we're all one. We're all one with nature. We're all one with the animals. We're all one with each other, right?
Absolutely. And I'm just interested with how you touched on your childhood. Mm-hmm. Because I too am an intuitive, and I resonate with that because I understand where it is not recognized, and very often it is almost, I use the word beaten out of you. It's not ethical to beat anybody now, but Victorian style. But what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say here is, people say, "Oh, that's nonsense," and you can't possibly know, and it then destroys that natural creativity that you have as a child, and that is a tragedy. So consequently, you do get to a stage where you can't understand your inner dialogue and can't reflect and look towards it. So thank goodness you did meet this crowd of people when you moved and have that second light bulb moment and understand things. Now, when you talk about animals and things like that, nothing happens by coincidence. By coincidence, it happens for a reason. And what you've done now is you've opened yourself up to messages and that natural instinct to follow what those messages are. I love that as well. Tell us more about how you integrate all of these sort of things with your daily life.
Oh, gosh. How do I integrate that with my daily life? That is a really, really good question. I guess it's just keeping the awareness of what goes on. If there's a windstorm, like the other day, I was down here at the office and I had planned on leaving earlier and I didn't. And then I got caught in the midst of the storm. But had I gone home to where I was headed, I would have probably been right in the middle of a tornado. So
there you go.
That's not a coincidence, and it was pouring down rain. The wind was blowing so hard that the hail that was coming down was moving sideways, so there's a message in here. And sometimes it's, just to stay put. And what is the storms in your life? Why, what is happening? And I'm always aware of what I'm doing and where my next step is and what's the guidance and direction. And when I ask questions like that, that's why I really keep my eyes open and stay alert to how the weather talks to me, how the trees talk to me, how the grasses talk to me, how the rocks talk to me, how the wind, all of these things and where the fire starts burning inside of me as to what's going on. And like I said, very aware of all the animals that are out there. And when they cross my path, what was my thought before they cross the path? Because that also gives you an idea of where you were thinking is where that needs to be directed for that kind of answer. So I guess, for the audience that's listening here is to really pay attention to what is going on around you, the people that are around you. Has people, come from your past that maybe you haven't seen or talked to in years, and all of a sudden they're on your mind. It may not necessarily be that person, but it may be representative to what does that person represent to you? Is there something going on in your life that maybe you should have paid attention to when they were in your life? Or is there maybe a message there that you need to make contact with them? or all of a sudden they call you, things like that.
That's very wise, taking apart from my original question there. So, Beverly, you are a very successful businesswoman, and obviously your psychic abilities and your intuition and your knowledge of how to utilize these has led you into being a very, very successful person. Tell us about identity revelation mentoring.
Oh gosh. Well, identity revelation mentoring came out of that journey that I started back there in 1974, is to find out who my true identity was. Because when you look at when people say, well, who are you, right? It's not who you are. You always say what you do. Oh, well, I'm this and I'm that and I do this and I go here and I go that. It's who you are from the heart. Versus what the association is of what you do. What is the integrity of who you are? What's that caring part of you, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And your small business alternative solutions with results, can you fill us in on that?
They kind of connect together, that identity revelation and alternative solutions, because I work in so many different alternative avenues, whether it's emotional healing, which gets you into your true identity, or if it's working through different energy, things that may be dysfunctions going on in the body, and actually how they do come back around and relate to the emotions, like anger stores in the liver, fear stores in the kidneys, bitterness stores in your gallbladder. So what are physical ailments that may be a part of all of that? So the alternative solutions basically is giving people the opportunity to know that there's not just one way to create an outcome that you're looking for. There's alternatives out there in every avenue, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, or financially.
So what is I beg your pardon, Beverly.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So what's IR mentoring in a subsidiary of alternative solutions with results?
I guess I started alternative solutions first because I got into a lot of the energy healing work and into the emotional work and started really doing a lot of that. And then I worked, I've got different machines that read the meridian, where I can create homeopathic remedies. I'm a homeopath. I'm a massage therapist. I work with cranial sacral. So I do a lot of alternative healing type methods that way, working around the emotions. And and it was probably 10 years after that when I started the identity revelation, because I was starting to really find the connection where everyone's traumas was that loss of identity through emotional struggles. The more in-depth the emotions got and the further away from being in touch with themselves, the deeper and the more traumatic the emotions got. And so it was like, let's find your identity. Let's start peeling away from the emotions to really reach the true identity of who you are, not the identity you think you have to be like everybody else wants you to be, but to actually be yourself and be true to yourself and be able to speak that truth. And that was one of the reasons why I started my last show, being the best you that you can be, is to be able to give yourself a voice and let your voice be heard globally. And that has really, that's kind of what brought us together.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's, again, we go back to what you mentioned earlier, we're all one. And, to be able to share that story and to be able to be that expression and to get it out there, standing on your own 2 feet and having that confidence to say, hey, listen up. Here's my story. Pay attention to me, right? And it can, if it only helps one other person to say, wow, that gives me hope, and it was worth it.
I totally agree with you there, Beverly. When you do have that awakening, when you suddenly realize that you are unique that each one of us has an individual, a thumbprint. We are here on this earth for a unique reason. And until you understand that, until you've lived the stories as well, you have no ability to be who you are. So how does your past interfere with your now?
It doesn't. Because I worked through so many issues and stuff, and I can recognize right off the top if there is something that's creeping up. And as a child, I really held on to my intuition. I was short. I was very small, so I was picked on all the time. And my ability to kind of have that intuitive know when I was able to get even. So being picked on and teased and everything else, I still had a really good gift to gab, as they say. And I could convince all my fellow, students in school and stuff, classmates and stuff, even brothers and sisters, cousins, you name it, anybody that I was playing with or involved with on any level, to be able to instigate, set them up to get caught, and convince them, oh, there's no way we can get caught, blah, 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 because I'm in this, right? No way you can get caught. Well, I would know when a teacher was coming or when an adult was coming or when somebody was coming and find out, I'd disappear. So it was kind of like I got the last laugh, and so, I just, I know that's not very nice, but it was just what it was, and then nobody got hurt, so it wasn't like people got really, really hurt or anything like that. It wasn't.
I'm going to stick up for you. I was horribly bullied at school as well because I was different. And I learned how to extract myself in different ways. So I'm empathizing here with you. But what I must say to you, this is your fight or flight, your lizard brain, and you learned how to do it in a certain way, a certain manner. So the bullies got found out. And I honestly, I loathe bullying because of my history.
Right, so exactly.
Good for you. Good that they got into trouble and that they got caught out. They obviously decided they wouldn't mess with you after that.
Well, they did, but I could still convince them again, over and over and over. This is what, I guess that's probably why I'm good in sales. Because oh my goodness. Oh gosh, but
that's funny.
So how does my past integrate with my present? I guess those are probably the pieces, that kind of have grown into different avenues of assets, that I've been able to use, but again, when you realize what's going on and you make the best of it, and that's being resourceful, and I can credit myself for being resourceful as well. But as a child, if I had enough, I would go, and I didn't know I shape-shifted, but I had this beautiful tree in the middle of the cow yard, and it didn't have any leaves or anything on it anymore. It was just kind of a dead tree, but to me, it was full of life. And the cows would rub up against it, whatever, but I would climb up that tree, and I would lay in the center of it, and I would leave my body and float with the birds. And I think that's probably why my connection with animals has still been so strong, and with nature, because I would fly and just become a part of all the elements. And nobody could find me. I could hear my siblings, trying to find me. I could hear my mom hollering at me. But you learned really young that if you were out of sight, you didn't have to be in the house, doing dishes or scrubbing floors or hanging clothes or doing whatever you had to do on the farm, right? Oh yeah, I was quite a character as a child, but
I think you still are.
You couldn't be seen, and so I think this is why I shape shifted, not knowing that that's what I did, just to escape certain things. And I was actually sexually abused as a child as well. And some of that had to do with what went on in the church. And I would leave my body at that time too. So the abuse didn't impact me like it did my older sister. And she still has traumas about that she's not ready to give up, which I don't understand, but that's her problem. And so for me, the spiritual things and the energy healing and all of this was just something that I was born with, but never had an understanding of it until the 80s, when it was recognized by someone else and said, wow. And I could say the biggest aha moment in my awakening to knowledge and understanding of it was when I took the Silva Mind Control class.
Talking about child abuse and how it affects you. Very often people that I work with have had these experiences, and they are exceptional people and usually very, very intuitive and very creative. So I'm so glad to know that you managed to be able to shapeshift away so that you are the person you are today with this wonderful sense of humor and understanding. Do you work with people who have been through this?
I have. And a lot of times when you take them back into when that happened, as a child, the child doesn't know any difference. It's an event, and it remains just that, an event of an experience that happened. Well, when you start reaching out in, as you grow older and people start talking about abuse, you hear different stories and abusive situations. The talk is, oh, well, it's probably their fault anyways, and you're like, oh, and then it's like, well, I don't know, the language that gets used from someone that's being abused. Well, they must be stupid if you're going to just stick around and just let something like that happen. So you should be able to stop it. So all of this talk, and then you see it in the movies, and you see it, in books that you read. You hear it over the TV and the news and stuff. So you start building off of what your experience was, and make it into something that it totally was not. And all of a sudden, this whole story gets so misconstrued that you really don't even know what the truth was anymore. Something as simple as just being touched, on the butt turns into something like I was raped, and maybe it didn't go past that. Just because of all this other stuff that happens, right?
Absolutely. And I'm just very grateful that you're there to help people. And again, it's yet something that we signed a sacred contract pre-birth,
right,
to experience in order to be able to help other people. And of course, you obviously do. So bless you for that. Really, my heart is with you. Now,
well, thank you.
It's my pleasure. So something you said to me earlier on, which made me smile, was that you're a great salesperson. So tell us about your workshops and what's on offer. Come on, show me your salesy person.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, I guess they really got honed in the 80s because I had my own business selling sandpaper to body shops, and I was what they called a wagon jobber. And so I would pull up in front of a shop, and I'd open up the truck, and here it all was. And I built a business starting out of an AMC Spirit, which is just a little car, into a 3-figure business in just a couple of years, being in competition with paint stores that had been around for 50 years. So, and again, being the only woman out there in a man's world, it was different. I got accused, oh my God, from a lot of the other gentlemen who were salespersons for these other paint stores, sleeping with the guys. Well, you don't say that to someone who's an instigator, let's put it that way. And it's like, oh, fine. Well, we'll just see how much business I can take. So it was a driving force. So that was kind of where also my counseling business started, because a lot of the guys would start asking me questions, and saying, my wife is doing this. I don't know what to do. My girlfriend, they're fighting. And it's like, oh, well, if you'd done this for her, she wouldn't be that. And oh my God, I really started, I had a side business I didn't know I could charge for back then. But, and that also built the sales, right? But, in today's world, what I do in my retreats, of course, we're in an avenue now where we can't have those retreats on Earth because everybody's quarantined and you can't go, you can't go anywhere. But I'm also doing virtual reality retreats, which is the avatar world. And we actually build out what we call worlds that look like your retreats would here if you were actually driving to them. And because it's in the avatar world, your psyche says there's somebody here right beside me, and it's also in the virtual reality world is really good for getting over phobias and fears and depressions and anxieties and things. So it's got a dual purpose here, but you're actually gaining back that person-to-person touch that's being lost with this separation that's been transpiring on the planet. So my workshops are leading more into that virtual reality world, where we're also doing vendor shows where people can now come and interact and also get to know one another in a networking environment, as well as in a business environment for retreats or workshops. So the workshops I have going now are some of them how to, actually get involved with the avatar world to make it your world of reality. And so I also market how to make a show, how to become a professional in the eyes of the camera or in the ears of the camera, so to speak, in the podcasting end of it. But in your regular shows, if you want to do video, because a lot of podcasts are video as well as audio, how to do that, but also how to overcome those fears of speaking, whether it's just to an audience that's not visual, but still audio. How do you overcome those fears? So it's a kind of a combination of how you can start your own show, how you can write your own book to get it out there and get your story heard to millions, and then networking in the virtual reality world and kind of incorporate and weave those all together. The impact is amazing. And so we're actually building retreats to where you can come and study with me, and learn how to really connect with the animal spirits, connect with the zodiac, connect with your animal totems, as well as the elements and the 4 seasons and the directions, and bringing that all together. And I call that the sacred wheel. And it really gives you the full picture of what the universe is all about, because your physical body and the 3 parts of yourself are also a universe within a universe. And when you can really bring that all together, and the avatar world seems to really kind of help the psyche mold 2 universes. You've got the little avatar universe, and then you've got the universe that we walk in our physical bodies. They really are not so different from one another. It's kind of like that Star Trek thing, and you bring it all together, and there's no racism in there. There's no finger pointing. There's no anything, because everyone is in an avatar body that you can dress in the manner in which you feel comfortable and be able to interact. There may be someone in there that's a paraplegic. There may be someone in there that doesn't have limbs. There may be someone in there that's autistic. It doesn't matter. When you're in the avatar world, everyone is equal. And when you can get that concept and grasp that in the virtual reality world, and then become living it out here in the real world, it just shifts so much, because you can't be on both sides of the fence at the same time. You can't be sad and happy at the same time. You can't be angry and joyful at the same time, right? And so it's merging those worlds together.
How fantastic that you, wow. I'm blown away. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I hear that word blown away quite a bit here recently. And it's hard to visualize unless you've actually seen it, and if people are interested in wanting to know more about that world, if they want to know more about how it all works, how you can put it together, and just want to get in contact with me, I'm going to give you a word that people can well, wait a minute, I better not, because you're across the pond here, like way across the pond. They can find me. They can find me.
They'll have all your links. They'll have all your links, believe me, because
you got
I want them to. But you're very welcome to speak about the link now anyway. I'm not worried about that at all. This is what this podcast is all about, is for people to find you. So if you want to reveal that.
They can take this email down. This is a real good business email to reach out to me at. It's my initials, BZ, like zebra, solutions, SOLUTIONS, with results, RESULTS, @gmail.com. So that's BZ solutions with results @gmail.com.
Thank you so much for that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's probably the quickest one, the easiest one to get to, because I find all those.
To be honest with you, I find using Gmail is far easier than some of the other ones where we've been indoctrinated into believing from early days when websites started out that if you don't have a .com email, you're not professional. And I've noticed more and more professional people are just using Gmail. So that's great. Well done.
Yeah,
I do too.
I agree with you. I think it's kind of become the standard. And what happens if people want to continue to connect with you and all of a sudden that website is obsolete, it's gone, and you don't have that .com anymore, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's like Gmail's not going anywhere, like Google's not going anywhere, right?
No, I think Dr. Google's hanging around. What would we do without Dr. Doolittle? Dr. Do-a-lot. Mr. Google. Funny.
Yes.
Beverly, you maintain all emotions lead back to either fear or love. Can you explain to the listeners why?
Oh, gosh. When you look at vibration, because I work a lot with vibration, and we talked about energy, okay? And energy is nothing more than vibration. Mm. And, so you have a positive and a negative vibration. You have the masculine and the feminine vibration. And it's the love and the fear vibration. So love is connected with the positive aspect of everything, right? Mm-hmm. And fear is connected with the negative side of everything. And when you begin to look at that, that's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad. It's the charge that happens. So fear it's a negative charge because it's a heavier vibration. It's a lower frequency as it moves. So it may be like a small ripple, where the positive charge is more like a tsunami ripple, shall we say, right? Yeah. So it's a more intense and more direct vibration. So when you take your fear and you take that negative charge and you place it underneath love, something that's connected with a positive outcome that you want. Let's say you're looking to get married, and you want this to be the love of your life, and everything's going to be perfect, right? But you have this fear because in a previous marriage, it was very uncomfortable and there was a lot of bad things happen. So you're afraid to move into that new relationship. If you concentrate on that fear, love will never find its way because fear is smashing love, right? So when you can take your love and kind of smash the fear and let the love outshine and let fear be that driving force to push you towards that love of your life, the fear then becomes nothing more than the supercharge for you to have more and better than what you had before. And that's how positive and negative charge works. So when you look at love and you look at fear, when you stand in the midst of your fear, that love will melt it, and you will attain what you want.
That's a wonderful explanation. I wow. I better come to you for that so that I can find a new love of my life. Since my husband died 4 years ago, I haven't been brave enough.
Well, that takes a lot to even just say that, because when you're with someone for an extended period of time and it's been the joy of your life and everything, you have roller coasters in between everything, but it's been a great ride. It's like, but I have so much more of life to live, and I'm not sure if I want to live it alone. What does it take to get back out there? Right. I've been single for a long time. I've had relationships in between, and I did find the love of my life and my soulmate. And we were together just shy of 2 years. And it was an intense ride. Let's put it that way. Everything was extreme in that relationship. It was, yeah. It was.
That sounds good. I want
one
of those. I want what you got.
Oh my God. It was good. I often wonder where we would be, because it's been like 20 years now. And wow. But for me, right now in my life, I enjoy my single life. Me, myself, and I get along great, and I'm 70.
Mm-hmm. I don't look it.
I don't act it either. That's why. That's why. But my belief, and I really truly believe this in every cell of my body, is you are what you believe. And I believe I'm 45. I act like 45. I respond to 45. Everything in my life at 45, I had the world, by the tail, so to speak. All my children had their own lives going now. I had my RV. I'm hitting the road. I'm traveling. Everything that I ever wanted in life, that back in 1974 that I said I wanted, right? This was the final straw for all of it. And I never wanted to go past 45. I'm going to just maintain 45. And that's what I've done.
Well, there you go. You've got a whole new program going there. Maintain 45.
I do, and I love it. I still travel, by myself, but me, myself, and I. And again, it's knowing who you are. It's knowing the depth of who you are and what your purpose in life is, and it's not, I don't have anything against guys, but it's like, it's going to take a lot to keep up with me, and I ain't slowing down for anybody. Okay.
Good for you. I love you.
And so it's like, well, you know what? You want to tag along for a while, tag along. But I'll tell you, you're going to get off at the first stop if you're trying to hold me back, because that's not going to happen, right? So it's like, that's my crazy life,
I love it. Beverly, tell us about the only 5 steps you need to be free. Talking about being free in 45.
The free in 45? Okay, those 5 steps are that little rah-rah system. So we go back into really recognizing, and that's what this Self-Discovery Archaeologist is all about. And I help you become your own self-discovery archaeologist. So you can start moving away what isn't you. Because sometimes to get to you, you've got to move away what isn't you. And we kind of forget that because we're trying to find us, but we don't know how to get there because there's too much debris in the way. And so with the rah-rah system, that recognizing is the key. And you can use dynamite, or you can just use a little hole, however you want to get rid of it, right? But first off, you got to recognize we got an issue. So it's like, okay, Houston, we do have an issue, and I'm recognizing it. I ain't liking it because it don't taste good, don't smell good, don't sound good, don't feel good, don't even, I ain't liking it, but I recognize it. Now we have to acknowledge it. This is the toughest part probably, is you have to acknowledge it. That's your truth.
Yes.
And why? It's because it was your truth when you started it. The database of information that you had when that issue was created, all you knew was what you knew. And you put that together as a safety net. And it went into the subconscious, into that fight flight. So you either would run to safety or you would fight to the bitter end. Either way. But that's the way it was. And so when something comes up that's relevant and kind of reflects on that same issue, you go into automatic response because that's your truth. And the subconscious says, whoa, oh no, you ain't doing that. There ain't no way, no more, no. And you're saying, yes, I am. And it's saying, no, you aren't. Yes, I am. No, you aren't. Well, guess who wins out in the long run? The subconscious does. So don't battle with the subconscious because you'll never win. So when you can say, you're right. Okay, yes, that is my truth. So you acknowledge that truth. The subconscious relaxes and says, see, told you I was right. And you say, yep, you were. But you know what? And the subconscious is going to say, what? And you're going to say, remember way back when I gave you that candy bar and it had all this information in it? Oh, yeah. But you know what? Look what I got over here. I got this bigger, better candy bar. You want some? The subconscious, because the subconscious is like this little kid. It's going to say, yeah, what you got over there? And you say, well, let's see. First off, you got to give me the old candy bar before I give you the new candy bar. So that's where that surrender comes from. That's that release.
Yeah.
And as soon as you do that, as soon as you acknowledge that truth, now the subconscious is ready to release. And you take the old candy bar, you put it in your incinerator because you want it transmuted, and that's what flames do. So you burn it, and then you say, okay, here's the new stuff, right? And you give it back because you always want to replace. You never want to leave a void. So you replace it with, yes, I am loved, I am successful, I am this, I am that, blah, 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 blah. First person positive. All goes into that subconscious. And that's the new database of information that starts running on autopilot. That's as simple and easy as it gets.
That's fantastic. Wow.
Yeah, and you can do that. You can do that in 30 to 60 seconds, and I can teach you how to do it just over and over and over. I have so many little different techniques, where you can do it,
This is brilliant.
You want me to share one of the techniques with the audience out here?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Okay. So let's focus, just kind of grab something that's just kind of eating away at you, that just bugs you, because every time you want to change, it's like the old thing comes back up and you want to change it. So just kind of
I got my credit card.
You got your
I want to change that.
you want to change how you keep using it when you shouldn't be using it?
Exactly.
Okay, because there's a lack here, right? It's like, well, I haven't been able, nobody's going to give me what I want. So this card's going to give me what I want. So here's the issue. I'm going to get what I want, right? Yeah. No matter what it takes. All right. So you start putting those issues, right? And it's like, okay, all right. Yeah, I really want this to stop. I am not in this lack mentality. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I can do without this credit card. Do I really need that? What is that need? There's a difference between a need and a want. It's like, okay, so let's go back into the root of what that was. And we're going to ask the higher self and the subconscious to do that for us because it knows. So now that we recognize we've got an issue around it and it stems around not being able to have the money to get what I want, not being able to buy what it was that I wanted when I wanted it, right? So those are the issues of what this credit card is giving you, that freedom, but it's also giving you an unfreedom because now you got to pay for it later. So it's that, right. So now we're going to say, okay, I acknowledge this as my truth and all the things that are connected around that. I acknowledge all of this stuff as being my truth. It's a false truth, but it's still my truth. And now I'm ready to release it. So I'm going to allow everything to go into an incinerator that's over here in front of me. So just build a little incinerator, right?
Okay,
and then,
I got a big one.
You got a big one. That's good. So where in your body, Susan, do you feel that? Where do you feel that stuff was growing in there? Where do you feel that?
In my heart. In my heart.
In your heart. Okay, so she's been heartbroken around not getting what she wanted. Okay, so let's let that heart be where all of the stuff is going to flow out and into that incinerator. So that's going to be the opening. Wherever your opening is, just point it in the direction of that incinerator. So now we're going to go on a little journey. So I want you to just kind of take a deep breath, relax for a minute, and say, higher self and subconscious, take me on a journey that's going to take me through every cell of my physical body, locating everything related to this issue that was the old truth that I'm letting go of. Everything that I consciously and unconsciously recognize or don't recognize. Everything that it played a role in it. Any person that played a role in it. All that information is just going to flow right out of that heart and into that incinerator. We're just going to breathe it in and breathe it out. And the higher self is going to take you through every cell of your physical body. It's going to move through your DNA. And it's going to recollect anything that was passed on down that could have been related, that stemmed into building this false truth. That's all going to go in that incinerator because it no longer serves purpose. And then I'm going to go with the higher conscious and the subconscious. We're going to move back through every previous life you may have had, all the way back to when your soul actually came into creation. And just eliminate anything that's closely related to that because it no longer serves purpose. And then just breathe in and breathe out. And feel it moving through your soul's cellular memory as well. Take another deep breath and just breathe out all the remaining debris. And know that this will continue with every breath that you take, all the way through to completion. And now, as you breathe in, I want you to repeat after me. I am one with the universe, and the universe is one with me. I have all the abundance of what it is that I choose. You can repeat this out loud. I'll wait for you if you want, or just to yourself, either way.
I've done it to myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with every breath, I also bring into me because I am fulfilled. I am successful. I have all that I want at my fingertips at the moment I desire it because it is my creation. However, universe sees fit for me to receive it, I am open. And my heart is open to receiving all the abundance that the universe has, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. I fill up.
That's wonderful. Woo.
Right. And now I accept this as my new truth.
That is fantastic. And it is so quick. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Beverly. we're on
You're
air,
welcome.
and everybody knows. That
And
you helped
everybody
me.
knows. Everybody got a little rah-rah. And
They did. So did I. My gosh. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm gonna actually put a book together just for the rah-rah system itself. I've got all the chapters laid out and everything. I've got the information now. It's just conglomerating it all into one. So hopefully here in the next, few weeks, it'll be ready to go to print. And when it does, I'll let you know.
Yes, I'll be there and writing you a review, I should think. So you've published 4 books so far, and one is the Power Formula. The heart-mind connection. Please tell us about them and the heart-mind connection.
Well,
because clearly you've just done a heart-mind thing for me now, and a power formula.
And the power formula, right? Well, the power formula is a lot of the things that we were just talking about, right? We talked about the consciousness, the subconscious, and the super consciousness. There's a chapter in there all about that. There's a chapter in there on all the different levels of emotions and the vibrations that they have, the frequencies that they carry, where shame is the lowest vibration, right? And actually joy is the highest vibration, right? And everything in between, and where we are, and where that switch goes from the negative charge to the positive charge. So there's a whole element on that. There's the reptilian you mentioned quite earlier in the reptilian brain, right? Which is your fight flight mechanisms as well.
Yeah.
So the reptilian, the mammalian, and the frontal cortexes, there's a chapter on that and how they overlay with the consciousness and the subconscious and higher consciousness in that mind connection. What else is in that book? There's actually the rah-rah system's actually described in the back, and there's a couple little quick techniques that you can use that are in that book as well, because it kind of leads up to all of that. There's different questions and answers in there, things that you can actually start to recognize and then use the rah-rah system to do some clearings, just little things like judgments and maybe little different fears, fear of the boogeyman or fear of failure type of things. There's a whole lot of, there's a whole full chapter to help you uncover that identity. So when you answer these questions, so if you take one question and you go back into where that rah-rah system is, you can utilize it together and really start to change, and you'll start uncovering so many different truths about yourself and really start to see the identity of who you are and start living from the heart and the mind connection instead of from the lower chakras, and connecting with the fears and the martyr and the victim and the survivor. Right?
Fascinating.
So you change survive into thrive. You change the victim into the victor, right? And you change the martyr into the one who is wise.
This is so. Speaking to you, Beverly, is I'm usually really good at speaking. I'm sort of again, I use the word blown away again. It's just incredible what you have on offer. And you were talking about being 45 and you're 70, and we've touched on anti-aging. What you do have is a franchise opportunity that you claim as the fastest growing anti-aging company, working with is it the aquaporin and stem cell technology that impacts the DNA in the most positive way possible? Tell us more about that, because clearly we don't, if anybody's like me, I accept the fact that this human meat suit that I'm walking around in is going to go, but I want to have a good looking one.
This human meat.
A human meat suit.
This human meat suit. Oh my gosh, that is too funny. I'm gonna have to remember that. I'm gonna write that down. Human meat suit. I have never ever heard. I've heard a lot of names for the physical vessel, but never that one. Oh my gosh. So,
my mentor, Rocky Krugfrost, who took me through, he saw me as a natural healer, and he connected with me and said, "Come on, let me teach you." He uses that. And the other day, so I took on the human meat suit from him. I said, I'm going to use that because it's so cool. And then the other day I interviewed this amazing man from Hawaii, and he called it a human meat machine. And I thought, oh, that's even better. So that's will work with your avatar. Yeah, with your avatar world. Anyway, let's get back to your franchise. Tell us about that.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure where you come up with that word franchise, but
it's part of what I research. So perhaps that's not what it is. Let's clarify on that.
I don't recall anything being a franchise, but what I can tell you how your DNA shifts. There's certain aspects of the DNA that shift and other aspects that don't. But how I use the DNA shifting, again, through this rah-rah system clearing, you actually alter the DNA. And not only does it impact your DNA, but it impacts your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. So you'll see the things that you change in altering this. And throughout my lifetime, since I started really doing a lot of this, starting in the 80s and through the 90s and all the way up here, I've been able to watch my siblings shift, because my DNA is shifting, their DNA is shifting. Yeah. When back in the 80s, when I started all this, I got the finger crossed thing, it's like, whoa, jinx, it's like, whoa, you're going to hell. You got to be, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe, some of the responses I got from family members, and these same family members now are asking me, how do you do this? How do you overcome that? Okay, I got this going on. How can you fix this? That type of thing. Because I actually do psychic surgery where I've actually gone in and removed tumors from people. I've taken people up out of comatose states, and all kinds of different things like that. And I actually teach a class on that, because again, we're working with energies, and this human meat machine that you're talking about, right? Only develops by what you put in it, not only what you put in your mouth, it's what you put in your thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. And the emotions and things. So I do a lot of meditation. I meditate probably 5 hours a day. I meditate more than I sleep. And it's being in that theta state. When you're in that theta state, that's where transformation takes place. That's where instantaneous healing takes place, right? And it's been proven through science now. If there's research out there that shows the brain and how the neural pathways fire up in the directions that they go. Doesn't matter how old you are, you can create new neural pathways and keep life flowing. Again, through meditation, when you are in that process. So how I get my nutrition, and again, this takes discipline and it takes consistency. Everything has a vibration. So vitamin B12 has a vibration. And most people are low on vitamin B. And that's your energy. It has a lot to do with triggering brain, focus and everything. So when you're in a meditation, you begin to breathe that vibration of B12 into your body. And, breathing it in through the oxygen, you breathe it through every cell of your body. And you start to feel it. And if you want to understand what it feels like, just take a vitamin pill that's a vitamin B12 and start to, put it in your hands and start to feel, what is this vibration about? What is this? Incorporate that B12 vibration. You can do the same thing. colors. Right, go ahead.
Yeah, so everything is, like you say, vibration, and everything is energy, and that really is a great explanation.
So maybe I should franchise that.
Well, I'm thinking that maybe that's what you're doing, and that's why it came out like that. So let's think about that, shall we? I mean, everybody wants to. You could. Oh my goodness! Can you imagine a franchise that makes you just with vitamin B and meditation? Makes you
know, when you start, yeah, no kidding. So when you start breathing in those vibrations, right, of all the different nutritions, you're breathing in oxygen, and discomfort cannot live in an oxygenated body, and we don't get enough oxygen, right? And you need your face to be free of anything blocking it to breathe in that air and to breathe out the carbon dioxide. So your carbon dioxide is feeding nature. Nature is producing oxygen to feed you. That's why we all need one another, right? And let's go back in that virtual reality world, into the avatar world, you know, and that's part of the mind. When, they've done this with sports. So they've taken different groups and they said, okay, we are going to meditate every day for this many hours, and you're going to see yourself playing basketball, shooting hoops, right? And in your meditation, you never miss, right? You always make the basket, no matter where you're standing on the court. You're always making the basket. You're running back and forth, right? You're playing defense, you're playing offense, right? And you're making all the baskets. And you do that for how many hours a day? Then they had others that were just normally, out there sweating it out and playing their basketball game, and training. And then they had another group that did half and half working out and the other half in the meditation. What they found was that those who did the meditation had better results than those that did 50-50 or did just doing the hard labor, right? But the ones who did half meditation and half practice, they were way above those that were just doing the practice. So in your mind, that's the mind over matter. That's the power of the mind, right?
Yeah.
So utilize that. So when I say I'm 45, my belief in every cell in my body believes that I'm 45.
Absolutely.
And all my kids are older than me now.
Well, they should have listened to their mother and done what you do.
They should, right? So again, the mind is very powerful. And what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. What you focus on is what you get. These are just random quotes. There's meaning behind all these things, and it's the understanding of it. And you are the person in charge. So if you got something dysfunctioning in this meat machine, as you put it, how can you fix it?
Exactly.
You use your mind, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Beverly, I've been so fascinated speaking with you, and I know that you are very busy, and we've overstepped the 60-minute limit. So I'm going to have to ask you to come back, because there are so many other questions I want to ask you, especially about star seeds and about walk-ins and about things from outer space. Oh my gosh,
I would love it. I could give you some really, really good stories on all of those, some of the different things that I have one of the most beautiful stories on walk-ins. So you definitely better get me back on, because it will blow your mind again.
I am a walk-in. That's why I want to know.
All right. I've got some great stories.
So we're going to be talking very soon. But what I'd like to the listeners to know is what your practice and your services are, so that they can get in contact with you, because you are amazing. You really are.
Oh gosh. Well, they can reach out to me, to that bzsolutionswithresults@gmail.com, and just put in kind of what what's going on, what kind of issues you're having, so I work a lot around that emotional healing. So that would be the energy healing work, where I really get into the depth of who you are. And I take you on these little journeys. I get you started with the raw system and how to really start in capitalizing and utilizing it. And I actually have videos. Well, they're videos because they got music and stuff on them, but we'll take you into the depth of that theta to where you can start really getting in some deep results, through these meditations. And that little exercise that I shared with you with the rah
Yes.
is so basic, but I take you deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And I can actually, you don't even need to know what's going on, because I can take you through your life. I can take you back through certain segments of your life, where it might be a month here, and it might be down to a week. It might be the day of the week, but then it might be 6 months we can cover. We might be able to cover a year at a time around certain issues, to really get the depth of all of that. And there's no regurgitating or reliving. All it is just recognize, acknowledge, and just start releasing all of this stuff. And once you get in the habit of this, you don't want to stop, because the changes happen so fast and you become so at peace. You don't ever want to stop. You begin recognizing things spontaneously, and all day long, you may be driving your car and you're going to be clearing things. Somebody cuts you off, and you see yourself ready to, really give them a piece of your mind. All of a sudden you're saying, oh, I can get rid of that too, right? Because it's a piece of anger, so all of these things happen. So that's what I do, is I take you on that deep journey to find your true identity and to remove a lot of the fears, the anxieties, the shames, and all of those lower vibrational frequencies that harbor and prohibit you from really having the confidence and the joy and the love that each and one of us deserves being on the planet, because it gets you back in touch with the soul essence of who you are. And it puts you back on your path as to what your true experience was. What was that contract you signed to get completed down here, so you don't have to come back?
Yeah, you're there. And now, we are in shutdown at the moment. So can you do this online with somebody? Well, people.
I would say 99% of everything that I do has always been done without the person being there. So yes,
that's great, because obviously the listeners will be able to contact you from the other side of the world and know that you can help them. So
right, and we actually can go, Zoom to Zoom, so they can see me. We don't have to just be audio, and sometimes that helps because it opens up the trust a lot faster when you see someone and you can see their body language and everything. So yeah, definitely.
That's wonderful. So we do have your email, and I do have your Facebook links and your LinkedIn link, which I will be putting in with this podcast so that people can connect with you on Facebook. And clearly, I should think people are going to be wanting to do that. Do you have a phone number that's available for people as well?
If they use the phone number, I'd appreciate them texting, because a lot of times I'm in recording and different things like that.
Yeah.
Just text message me is fine. It's 303-359-2199. And then they can just say that Susan's podcast is where they got my information, and they'd like to set up a time, to talk, and then we can, I can get them my schedule, and we'll take it from there.
So of course they can always get you on Messenger as well on Facebook.
Messenger is a really good place, because my Messenger dings on my phone too. And so, yes, I can be found on there. That's right. That's right.
Well, Beverly, thank you so very, very much. I do appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. And I'm sure that the listeners for Awaken Your Mind Magic are going to be intrigued like I am.
Well, let's go see how much awakening mind magic that we can do, right?
Absolutely. It's out there. It's what we got to do.
Hey, you know what? And I love what I do. I have to admit, I do love what I do.
Well, thank you again, Beverly. Take wonderful care of yourself, especially at the moment, because you're an absolute blessing to the world.
Well, thank you so much, Susan. And it's been a delight being on here. And thank you all out there for listening. And I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. And gosh, Susan, I can't wait to get back on here and talk about this other stuff.
I know. We'll book afterwards.
All right. All right. Bye-bye.
That's Awaken Your Mind Magic for another week. If anything you've heard today has really impacted you and you want to know more, or you would just like to connect with me, then visit my website, awakenyourmindmagic.com, and reach out for a free one-on-one discovery session with me.
Silver on the outside, silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside.
Tune in next week, where I'll be discussing more tools to unlock your dreams and live a limitless life that you would truly love to live. I'm Susan Kathleen, and this has been Awaken Your Mind Magic.